Hello everybody, thank you for joining my video. We are going over the Steelfist Born Legacy card that is just a little over a month away. We're just going to go over briefly the card announcement, go a little into detail about some of the fights. We'll go into more detail about all of the fights and all the fighters a little closer, about 2 weeks out from the event. So just kind of briefly going over everything, we're going to start with our first fight, which is amateur kickboxing between Gage Taylor, who's at Tooele Academy of Mixed Martial Arts, and Jordan Jepson, who is training at Ultimate Combat Training Center. We don't have very much information about either one of these guys. Both of them are making their combat sports debut. I believe I have trained with Jordan Jepson one time. I think we got a couple sparring rounds together, and I'm pretty sure he trains pretty actively with Kawhi Thompson over there at UCTC. So you know he's getting some good training and getting some good striking. So he's coming in, and this is a kickboxing match, which is just punches and kicks, and I believe knees, but no clinching. So it'll be great to see how these guys are going to come out and perform. Both of them are coming from legitimate gyms, and both of these guys are going to be prepared for their fights. This is happening at 135 pounds. Moving on to our next one, we have Skylar the Zombie McBride coming in against Rundong Sun. Rundong is over also at Ultimate Combat Training Center. I think I've trained with him before one time. And then we have Skylar McBride, who is at One Hit MMA up in Layton. One Hit is always putting out great fighters, very technical strikers, very skilled fighters, and also very tough guys. So this fight is happening at 160 pounds. Both of these guys are making their combat sports debuts. So excited to see how this is going to go. If Rundong Sun is who I'm thinking it is, he's definitely very well prepared for this fight. I believe he has a more of a traditional martial arts background, so it'll be fun to see how he's going to come out and perform in a kickboxing match. Now we are moving on to Muay Thai. We have Kent Lloyd from Utah Valley Self-Defense up in Orem coming in against Thomas Manwaring, who is over at the pit, and so I've gotten to train with him quite a bit. Definitely one of my favorite people to spar. Very powerful, very hard-hitting, and a very big dude. This fight is happening at 190 pounds, and Kent Lloyd, I believe he is the head coach as well as the owner of Utah Valley Self-Defense. They have a bit more of traditional martial arts over there. I remember, I think I saw Krav Maga was one of the ones that they're teaching. And so he, I imagine, as the owner of this gym, has a pretty extensive combat sports background, but this is his debut into competition. At least competition as far as Muay Thai goes, rather than Taekwondo competition or whatever. It's quite a different dynamic, especially once you're in there in the cage and the lights hit you. Pretty terrifying, but excited to see how he's going to come out and perform. And I definitely know that Thomas is ready for whatever he's going to bring. And this is going to be a great fight between both of these guys. Moving on, we have Destiny Destruction Limpy, who is 32 years old. She has a kickboxing record of 2-0, as well as an MMA record of 1-1. She's coming in against Irene Finn Pole. Irene is 1-0. Both of these people didn't have a gym listed. We weren't able to find anything. Destiny trains with a group of people up in Montana. I don't know if it's just like close friends and family, or if it's people who are actively competing in combat sports as well. But seeing how her record overall right now is 3-1, you can expect her to be getting some great training up there. And Irene Poole is 1-0, so she has at least gotten in there, and she's gotten a win as well. So this will be a fun fight. This is heavyweight women's Muay Thai. Okay, then we are going into MMA, and starting off with one of my favorite fighters, Kenneth Alley, a really good friend of mine, and I'm excited to see him fight again. I always get really excited for his fights. His last fight was pretty unfortunate. He got his arm caught and got caught in a head slam. It was a pretty crazy knockout, but he came backstage afterwards and he was at least coherent. That doesn't mean that everything is okay, but it's a step in the right direction, and he's made his adjustments and he's coming to return. He's training at Sports Performance Academy down in Spanish Fork. His last fight, his fight where he got the win, was definitely one of my favorite fights to see. Coming in against somebody who was way bigger than him and cracking him with an overhand and finishing it. So excited to see Kenneth has gone back to the drawing board, make the adjustments that he needed. I'm excited to see him back. Skylar Stevens, I actually was able to witness his fight back in Wyoming in August, and I was pretty impressed with him. He was going up against a pretty experienced wrestler, and he was able to hit a sweet lat drop, so he's at least got the athleticism, and I don't know if it's a fight IQ or just instinct to be able to go out there and perform. He did get caught with a punch and got knocked out within the first round, but he is ready to return, and he says he loves to compete and doesn't necessarily care about the record, so excited to see him back. Moving on, we have an amateur flyweight bout between Christopher Crazy Man Carrillo and Bryce Smith. Chris Carrillo, this is his second fight. He's 0-1 right now, with his one loss coming to the flyweight belt competitor Christopher Anderson, but that was back in August, I believe. He trains. He's listed right now as training independently, but when I was training at a gym, I won't say which gym just because I don't know if he wants that information public. He was training at a gym recently, working on his ground game, which is great to see. I love to see people when they when they get their first loss, they go back and make the adjustments that they need. As far as I know, this is what he told me, he has a 6-3 boxing record, which is pretty legitimate boxing record, before he transitioned over into MMA. So if he's able to work on his ground game where he doesn't have to worry about it so much, and he's able to implement his boxing a little bit more, I'm excited to see how far he's going to go in this sport. And now his opponent, Bryce Smith, he is making his combat sports debut. He has a Street Fighter style, is what he has listed, and he trains independently with his brother Daquan Barber, who is on this card later. Moving on, we have a amateur 130-pound MMA bout. This is a female MMA bout, which I'm really excited for. This might actually be the first female MMA bout that I have seen in person, so can't wait for it. We got Lacey Vasquez coming in against Heidi Brown. Lacey Vasquez is 1-1 in MMA and 1-1 in kickboxing. She trains over at Excite MMA down in Lehi, Utah, and Excite MMA is a pretty phenomenal team. They've seemed like a pretty close-knit group of people, as well as they have another one of their fighters fighting for a title with a different organization, and so you can expect they're all getting really good training rounds in the gym, and I'm excited to see how she's going to come out and perform. Against Heidi Brown, who's over at Cache Valley Martial Arts up in Logan. This is her combat sports debut, but her listed partners or training partners here, she has Carly Longson, Ebony Bonner, and Cara Gutierrez. So you can expect that she's getting really good training with those people up there. And Cache Valley Martial Arts is a legitimate gym, and they even have a champion or two under their belt there. So excited for this fight, and I cannot wait to see it. Moving on to probably what I have listed as fight of the night coming into this is going to be Donnie Ferris versus Joshua Tautioli. I'm sorry, Josh, if I said your name wrong. But I had Donnie Ferris and Matt Lovato as my fight of the night for the last fight, and I'm expecting him to carry on with that as well. Josh, from what I hear, has really cool, or really tricky, unorthodox striking. I've never actually been able to train with him. We just keep on missing each other whenever we hop up in different gyms. But from his fights, I've so far only seen him wrestling. He is 1-2 right now. He just lost his last fight about a month ago due to Kimura, whereas Donnie won his fight a few months ago back in August with the Kimura. So I'm interested to see how Joshua's going to come out and make the adjustments that he needs. Maybe we see a little bit more striking from him. And both of these guys are really well-rounded, really athletic fighters, and both coming from legitimate teams, and this will be a fantastic fight. Cannot wait to see it. Moving on, we have Jordan Jones coming in against Calvin Taylor. Jordan Jones is 1-0. He won his debut earlier this year by third-round submission, and he's also training at Excite MMA with Lacey Vasquez and a few other people that I don't believe they're on this card, but good team. And then Calvin Taylor, he's up at One Hit MMA in Layton. Calvin Taylor, this is his combat sports debut, but he has 5 years of wrestling, so it's pretty extensive wrestling background. And he definitely looks like a wrestler in his little face-off poster. He's got the body shape of a wrestler and everything, so can't wait to see how he's going to come out and perform. Moving on, we have a middleweight bout, 185 pounds. We have Luke the Caveman Sanders coming in against Daquan Barber. Luke Sanders is coming off of a loss to John Henderson at 185. This was back about a year ago now, where he lost by knockout, and he's coming in against Daquan Barber, whose last loss was to the current champion, Mitch Olson, who just beat John Henderson. So a little bit of a dynamic going on here between these competitors, and now it's time that they're going to match up and perform. Luke Sanders wants to dedicate this fight to all recovering addicts, and Luke, I commend you, and I'm super happy for you for getting to the point that you are in your life. He's currently training at Rise Boxing with Marco Sanchez, whereas Daquan Barber is training independently with his brother Bryce Smith, who was on the card earlier, and he trains a little bit at Integrated Martial Arts in Salt Lake City. Moving on, we have our first belt championship, Chris Anderson against Jordan Munoz. Chris Anderson is definitely one of the top guys at 125 pounds. He says that he has his nutrition dialed in, so he feels really good about being at 125 pounds. He is 4-3-1, but he's won 3 of his last 4 fights, with his only one loss coming to the vacated champion, Christian Cortez, where he lost by armbar. But since then, he's been on a 2-fight win of dominant performances. He trains at 4-7 with, they have Trace Tuckett, Nino Geneo, and Matt Lovato up there, so a really great team that he's been training with, and he wants to dedicate this fight to his wife and daughter, and he's coming in for his second shot at the title up against Jordan Munoz, Baby Diablo. He is 28 years old with a record of 3-6, and he's competed at both 125 and 135. At 125 pounds, however, he is 3-1, so that is definitely his division to be. He needs to stay there. And I'm excited to see how he's going to come and perform, especially after his last huge upset over Dietrich Jessup, who was one of the, I think it was like the number 5 or number 3 ranked fighter in Utah at 125 pounds. And he has a legitimate team. His dad and his brother are both incredible fighters. His brother just had an awesome win, I think also back in August. And he's making a quick turnaround to get this belt. Now, also, I say that's his division and he needs to stay there at 125, but at the same time, experience is experience, and he's fighting a lot, which is amazing to see for an amateur. So, take that into consideration, do whatever you want, but I'm excited to see how he's going to perform at 125 pounds going in for a championship belt. He said he's always wanted the opportunity to compete for the championship, and now that it is vacated and within reach, he's very excited. Now, we are moving on to our next. This is a bantamweight titled defense. Jordan Speedy Gonzalez, one of my teammates. He is 4-0 right now with 3 wins by stoppage, coming up against Nate Reinhardt, Nate the Great Reinhardt, with a record of 1-1. Nate Reinhardt, I was there to see his debut, where he was definitely, at least in my opinion, the more skilled technical fighter. But in MMA, it's not always the more skilled fighter that wins. He kept on making a mistake when he would get his opponent back up against the cage, and kept on getting clipped with overhands, and his opponent was able to eventually get the win. And then he got his other win by doctor stoppage. He's had quite a few fights scheduled over the past year, but his opponents keep on pulling out, and so he calls out the toughest guy in the division in Jordan Gonzalez, and he's definitely deserved it. I think he's a super talented fighter, and he's got a tough task in front of him, and he's challenging himself to come up against somebody like Jordan, who is just overall incredible and one of the best fighters and training partners that I've trained with, and I'm excited to see how this one's going to go down. The co-main event, this one is one that I am also super excited for, is the featherweight title defense, where current champion Beck Shields, we have a few different records for him, but we have potentially a record of 8-5 in MMA, which is a ton of MMA fights, as well as 2-0 in Muay Thai. He has been competing for a long time, and he's only 20 years old. He's originally out of Mississippi, but now he's living in Wyoming, where he trains with his dad, Billy Shields. And their gym is called Shields Combat Club. He has a lot of experience, and he's a big test for anybody in this division. He showed phenomenal grappling in his bout against Kawhi last July when he was able to secure the belt. And he's coming in against Tyler the Hangman Harden, who is 23 years old, and he has a record of 3-1 with his one loss coming to Kawhi Thompson. He's 3 straight wins, all by dominant victory, all by stoppage, where he's gotten, I believe it was 2 submissions and then a TKO in his last fight. He's arguably one of the best grapplers in the division, but he has a good test in front of him with Beck Shields. Also training at Colossal Fight Company with Donnie Ferris, who was on the card earlier. And for our main event, and I believe what the Bourne Legacy was faced around, Cole the Machine Faust is making his professional debut up against Bryce Edminister. Bryce is right now 3-3 as professional, but with an amateur record of 8-4, and Cole Faust has an amateur record of 9-1 with 8 finishes. He is not only the #1 ranked amateur in Utah, but also the #1 ranked amateur in the US West, and he's currently training at One Hit MMA in Layton. He's just a phenomenal, extremely well-rounded fighter, and he's taking a tough test in front of him against Bryce Edminister. Both of these guys have been doing MMA for about the same amount of time, even though Bryce is about 10 years older than Cole is. Cole has basically been born and raised in the gym, and Bryce Edminister has basically shaped his life to be in the gym. He's a phenomenal training partner, and he's able to capitalize off of little mistakes. We're going to see if he's able to get that mistake out of Cole, see if he's able to capitalize it and just kind of show his experience. I know that he's prepared for this fight, and he's mentally ready, and I'm excited to see how both of these guys are going to go. So that is the full card on December 9th, Bourne Legacy. Contact any of the fighters to get tickets, and if you are a fighter and you're watching this and you want to be interviewed and talk about your upcoming fight, reach out to me, and I will be reaching out to some of you as well. And I will see you all on about a couple weeks before the fight to go over the full card. Thank you all, and I will see you soon.